Alrighty, we're going to get started. So today we're going to talk about interventions. And today I have a guest presenter with me, and this is my son, Brady. Brady, can you tell us a little bit about yourself? Like how old you are, what grade you're in?
I'm in 3rd grade and I'm 9 years old.
Yes, and where do you go to school, Brady?
Spring Valley Elementary.
And that's where we're at today, aren't we?
Yep.
Today you're in Mom's room for a few minutes so we can talk about interventions.
Mm-hmm.
How many friends are in your classroom?
18.
We have 18 kids in your classroom. Thank you. So, Brady, like I said earlier, we're going to talk about interventions today. Do you know what interventions are if you would hear that word at school?
No, not really.
No? Okay. Well, interventions are opportunities for teachers to focus in on what a student needs to learn, okay? So as a teacher, Brady, it's my job and Mrs. Blagan's job, your teacher, and other teachers in the building to help students understand what we're learning. So let's talk about math class, okay? Some of your classrooms you go into and you see and talk about I can statements when you start to learn something new. Do you have those in your classroom? Yeah. Do you know what those are?
No, not really.
Okay, an I can statement is a learning target. It's something that we have decided as teachers that it's really important for kids to know. So if you know that in 3rd grade, it's going to help you learn new things as you go on to 4th grade, okay? And then it keeps building so you get to learn more and more things about a skill that we think is important. So when you know that stuff when you're all done with school, okay? Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. So, as I said, it's our job to make sure that you guys, you and your friends, your other classmates, can show us what you know. So we have to give you opportunities. We have to teach you the stuff, but we also have to have you learn what you need to know, but then you have to show us back, okay? And there's different ways for us to be able to tell if you know things. Sometimes it's a quiz. Sometimes it's in a project. Sometimes it's just by you having a conversation with a teacher or with your classmates, okay? There's lots of ways that we as teachers can tell if you know what you're supposed to be learning, okay? So, if you need, sometimes though, kids might need some extra help, okay? When you're practicing those learning targets or I can statements. There are 3 different levels of instructional interventions, and when I talk about interventions, okay? And in front of me here I have 3 different colors, and we're going to build a triangle as we talk about the different interventions, Brady, okay? The different levels, okay? So I have a red, a yellow, or a green, a yellow, and a red, excuse me. So let's use your classroom as an example. You said you have 18 friends in your classroom, right? Does everybody learn the same way?
No.
No. So, how do you think you learn? What's the best way for you to learn?
Just sit there quietly and listen.
Just sit. Well, that's a good way. That's a good way to hear what the teacher's trying to teach you, right? And you're learning is sit there. But does your teacher ever break your friends or classmates up into groups?
Yeah, during math because we have 18 kids and she doesn't want to do one whole class math group.
Mm-hmm. So do you think that sometimes she puts you into groups that she knows that some of you learn better in one way so she can explain it or model it or you guys can practice it and then the other group is maybe a little bit different?
She actually does. She puts us with the people that learn the same way as us.
Exactly. So I asked you that question. You know, how do you think you learn? Okay, I think that I'm a better. I learn by doing things. I have to do what I'm being asked to learn about. I think, Brady, and you could disagree with me. I think you learn by listening. I think you're a good. You are an auditory learner. You hear things and you automatically know that. Some people might be more of a visual learner. They have to see it in order to learn it. And so when Mrs. Blagan's putting you into different groups, that's what she's doing. She is teaching you guys your math instruction in the classroom, but she's doing she's using a big word called differentiation, okay? And what that means is that when we talked about that you learn things better by listening, I learn things better by watching. Some kids might learn better by doing, okay? That's what a tier 1 intervention is, and that's that big green color down here. And this is where most students, this is all the learning that they'll need to do with their math stuff, okay? What you do every day in math, okay? Out of your 18 kids in your classroom. Now we're going to talk about tier 2 interventions, Brady. And tier 2 interventions is the yellow color of my triangle right here, okay? And in my yellow color of my triangle, there's going to be some kids or friends in your room that might need a little extra practice with their math stuff besides what you're doing in math class and your different groups learning the math things in different ways. They might need a little extra practice besides. So they're gonna, and when we think about this, we got to think about 15% is what us as teachers say, but it would be about 3 of your friends in your classroom that are probably going to need a little extra practice.
Yeah, that's what it is.
Is that about right, you think?
Yeah.
Okay.
3 or 4.
Okay, 3 or 4. Sounds good. So those friends of yours are gonna at a different time in the day in a small group, they're gonna work on some extra practice. Let's say like right now you're working on what in math? What are you working on?
Shapes.
Shapes. So let's say that maybe 3 or 4 of your friends, they're just not getting it. You know, they don't really understand it, or they understand it a little bit but not really good, and they need some extra practice. They're going to meet in a small group, maybe 2 or 3 times a week during like your intervention time at the end of the day, or your enrichment time, like when you're doing your Shark Tank projects or your enrichment stuff, your Genius stuff. And they might work on doing some more learning with shapes, either with Mrs. Blagan or another teacher that might come in and work with them in the classroom, or go out in the hallway and work with them on their shapes, okay? And we're hoping that between the math that you're learning in the classroom and the extra math practice that they get here, they're going to then get that these shapes aren't so hard and they're going to be easier to do, okay? Does that make sense so far?
Yeah.
Okay, so now we're going to talk about the red part of the triangle that I have here, okay? And in this red part of the triangle, Brady, there's still some friends in your class that might need even more practice than just 2 or 3 days a week, okay, to learn their shapes. They might need practice every day to practice their shapes, because geometry is just kind of hard for them, okay? They just don't get it like they got multiplication facts. They need a little extra help with their geometry, okay? So in this part of the triangle, we say about 5% of the students in the classroom will need a more intense intervention. And by intense, I mean it might be more time, it might be more specific. Do you know what I mean by that? Yeah. It might be more days of the week. It might be for a longer amount of time. Like it might not just be for 2 weeks or 4 weeks. It might be that they have to learn about geometry and shapes for 8 weeks out of the school year before they understand it 80% of the time, okay? So that's how our triangle works here. We have tier 2-1 intervention, or tier 2 or tier 1 intervention, okay, Brady? This is where we learn our math in math class. Everybody learns it.
Mm-hmm.
We learn it, though. Do we all learn it the same way?
No.
We learn it how?
Differently.
You're right. Now, sometimes some of us might need a little extra practice, right?
Yeah.
And this happens in
The yellow zone.
in the yellow part of the triangle, right? Do you remember how many friends that I said this usually is?
3 or 4.
3 or 4. And in tier 2, what do they work on again in here? Can you tell me?
Shapes.
Well, they work on shapes, but they're usually working on the same thing you're working on down here, just extra practice.
Yeah.
Yep. And then up here, it's about 1 friend that needs some more. And they're going to work on shapes
for a long time.
For a little bit longer, for more time and for more days of the week. Because all that extra practice is going to help them down here too when they're in math class every day. Okay? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So if you had to go back to your classroom and explain to your friends what tier 1, tier 2, and tier 3 interventions are? Do you think you could do that?
No, not really.
You don't think so?
No.
Do you think you could explain it to me?
Yeah.
Yeah? Could you try right now?
Sure.
Okay, you go ahead and explain it to me.
Tier 1 intervention, tier 1 is like your normal.
Normal
Yeah.
math class.
Yeah.
Yep, okay.
Tier 2 is like extra practice.
Yep.
And
Is it all 18 kids in the
No.
classroom? How many is it?
3 or 4.
Yep.
And red zone is about one friend in my classroom,
Mm-hmm.
and he gets to work on it for a longer period of time with one-on-one.
Awesome. Good job. Okay. And our hope is that when our friends get the extra practice here in the yellow part of our triangle and the red part of our triangle, that then when you're learning about it in the green part of our triangle, it's easy for your friends too.
Yeah.
Okay? It's easier, everybody's learning it, and they don't need the extra help up here. Okay?
Okay.
Thank you so much, Brady, for talking to me today about interventions. I appreciate it.